So, the history of what we now know as Halloween originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts lived 2,000 years ago in what is now Ireland, the Northern Kingdom, and France. November 1st was believed to be when summer ended and the start of the harvest, cold winter, and New Year. This time was associated with human death. October 31st was called Hallows Eve, where Samhain was celebrated and the ghosts of the dead visited Earth. So their New Year's Eve is on October 31st, and they have a little bit um, of different traditions than we do, which we celebrate New Year's Eve on December 31st. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Celtic Festival of Samhain. Um, the Celts would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off the ghosts, which their costumes were made out of animal skin and stuff like that. Druids, which are priests of the Celtic religion, or they can be known as magicians and stuff like that, built the bonfires where people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the deities, which are like gods. These traditions were done in hopes to have good spirits through the dark winter that is coming, because it was believed to kind of be a time where everyone was cursed and their crops are um, would be ruined, or so they'd like sacrifice their crops already to show that they don't deserve to be cursed or whatever during this time. So, the problems with Halloween is that Christians have a hard time celebrating a day where evil spirits, ghosts, witches, etc. are celebrated. Um, Sinful behavior may take place on Halloween, such as vandalizing, pumpkin smashing, drunk driving, etc. And also costumes may be offensive, like culture appropriating, which I will show examples of in the next slide. So the classic Indian costume can be offensive to cultures who actually are a part of Indian tribes. Um, and then obviously this wearing a sombrero and the uh, stereotypical, I don't know, attire of those who are Hispanic, especially when you aren't Hispanic, to dress up like that can be really offensive to their culture and race and ethnicity. Um, the Day of the Dead costume, especially again if you aren't from this culture, this is like a highly celebrated day in the Hispanic culture in Mexico, which we'll get to later on, but it's just not really appropriate to dress as something like that. It's kind of like dressing like a nun who's pregnant. If you've seen those aren't really appropriate and can be very offensive. And the classic genie um, costume, this can also be culture appropriating and offensive. So,
All right, so the next holiday we are going to kind of capture along with Halloween is called Day of the Dead. So, Day of the Dead is also known as Dia de los Muertos, and it happens around the same time of the year that Halloween does. The Day of the Dead is a multi day celebration in Mexico and other Hispanic countries when family and friends gather to celebrate the deaths of their loved ones and to support their spiritual journey. Again, it's called Dia de los Muertos, and it starts on October 31st and it ends on November 2nd. So it's not just one day, it is 3 days long. It includes festivals, parades, and also gatherings at cemeteries. All right, so like I said, there's 3 different days in Dia de los Muertos, and they are listed here. October 31st is the first day, and it's when the spirits of the children are known to come back. November 1st is All Saints Day, and it's when all spirits, adult spirits, come to visit. And then there's November 2nd, which is All Souls Day. So families then go to the cemeteries and they decorate their graves and their tombs of their relatives, like shown in this picture here. So one thing that the Day of the Dead is known for is the skulls. So if you've heard of Dia de los Muertos or you've heard of Day of the Dead, you've probably seen a skull somewhat associated with it. And so this is the symbol for the holiday, and it's represented with masks or foods like chocolate or sugar skulls here on your right. The name of the recipient is usually on the forehead of the skull. It's not shown here, but it happens, and they can be given both to the living and to the dead. The last thing here is just a comparison of the two. So on the left we have the Day of the Dead, and on the right we have Halloween. On the left, Day of the Dead, it's a 3-day celebration instead of a 1-day celebration like Halloween. In the Day of the Dead, they also dress up, but they really like to emphasize that skull symbol. And in Halloween, we dress up in different costumes. At Day of the Dead, there's parades and cemetery celebrations, and then we also celebrate the spirit of deceased relatives. For Halloween, we go trick or treating, and instead of celebrating like the good aura and spirit of a deceased relative, we tend to celebrate the evil spirits during Halloween time.